It says, with many other words, he, speaking of Peter, testified and exhorted them, saying, be saved from this perverse generation. Then those who gladly received his word were baptized, and that day about 3,000 souls were added to them. How many just enjoy his love? You just love reading the Word of God and seeing the powerful things that God does, and he did, and he wants to do it. When I was a young youth pastor, I got a full-time youth pastor position, age 22, 23, and this was kind of my vision for youth ministry. Man, just powerful, corporate gathering, powerful preaching, powerful response, people at the altars, girls crying, makeup all messed up, you know what I mean? Like, how many of you kind of have these types of visions for youth ministry? That's a good thing. I'm not here to blunt that. I'm not here to dismiss that. That is a great thing to have, that we want to believe for powerful corporate gatherings. But a lot of times, that's all we see in the Bible when we read it. We just see these powerful corporate times because in the American church, that's our strongest expression of church, is corporate services. But there was more to the early church than just that. And we see that in verse 42. It says, they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine, in fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in prayers. And you see there, the first thing, they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine, that outside of the sermon, so Peter preached, the apostles taught, but outside of that, they wrestled with the Word of God together. Together they got together and they wrestled with the Word of God outside of the sermon. There was fellowship. We know that word koinonia. It literally means sharing. And outside of that corporate gathering, they were sharing their life with each other. Breaking of bread. They ate food with each other. How many knows there's some relationship when we break bread and food? I know it's speaking to communion, but I believe it's just talking, just doing life together as well. And they continue steadfastly in prayer. This wasn't just a social club. These weren't just discussion groups. When they came together, they approached the throne of God together. There was a spiritual dynamic to this community. So how did this happen? How did they have these powerful corporate gatherings and then this strong community outside of that corporate gathering? Well, verse 46. So continuing daily with one accord in the temple, corporate gathering, and breaking bread from house to house. Everyone say house to house.
House to house.
So this ministry had powerful corporate gatherings, but it also had depth outside of the corporate gatherings. And that's my desire for your youth ministry, is that, yes, you would have powerful times at your midweek service or your Sunday services or whatever events you have going on, but then outside of those ministry events, there will be some depth to the community in your youth ministry. And the most practical way I've seen this accomplished is through an intentional small group community.